melanin is popping.
I'll tell you right now, I love my melanin.
There's actually 50 shades of melanin.
Legalize it. Yeah. Melanin.
Freedom. We free y'all.
Lakeisha.
We free y'all. We free y'all.
Tyrell.
We free y'all.
Muhammad.
Free y'all. We free y'all. We free.
Bar.
No more slavery. We free y'all.
Kiki.
We free y'all. We free y'all. That is all we got to say. I'm out of breath. Oh, God. Hey, guys. Welcome back to another episode of
Highly melanated.
Highly melanated.
Melanated?
Podcast.
Highly
Melanated.
podcast.
Melanated.
Highly
Podcast.
melanated.
The Highly Melanated Podcast. PJ. Shit.
PJ shit is here.
PJ, I'm on my shit.
There you go. There you go. That's how you save it.
You, she, not today.
I don't have one that goes with it, but I was going to say red, almost an asthmatic red.
And Blair, you can catch these hands.
All right, and the gang is back.
Hashtag with that whole ass.
Fuck around and start a new challenge.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah.
Press. Cardi don't need more press. Kill them all, put them hoes to rest. Walk through bulletproof vest. Please tell me who she gonna check. Walk in.
Murder scene.
Cardi made a mess. Pop up, guess who, bitch? Pop up, guess who, bitch? Ding dong.
And the gang is back for another episode where we melanate your palate and feed your soul.
I'm sorry, that song is just, it's forever ingrained in my mind. It's not going anywhere.
No, I agree with you on that.
I'd be walking through the subway talking about press.
We like to take the time to thank her. I'll just look at her like.
But you know what I gotta say? I gotta say this for the other side.
Yeah.
Megatron 621.
Yeah. Okay.
Hashtag party gang, bitch.
That's how I feel about that. Okay.
But you still gotta say something. We can't be haters.
True. I ain't hating. I'm just, when it comes out, I'll see what happens.
But all I know is press video coming soon. Press video coming soon.
I don't even know what the fuck y'all talking about.
Wow.
This Megatron shit.
No, that's Nicki Minaj.
Nicki
Minaj.
Minaj.
Fuck her. Okay, fuck her.
Ooh.
Anyway, so we like to take the time.
I'd like everybody to know that was the opinions of PJ Ryan.
That is my opinion, and I will stand firm in it. Fuck her.
Okay. Wow.
Hey, I'm all you barbs can come for me if you want to.
I was going to say, all the barbs can contact PJ directly at Phil Nominal.
Phil Nominal at IMPJ Ryan.
Do not flood the highly melanated.
You can even go to IMPJ Ryan on Instagram. You can find me anywhere.
All right.
Yeah. So back on track. Jeez. we like to take the time to thank you and welcome, thank all the new people. Well, thank all the people for coming back to listen to another episode, and also welcome all the new people that are here. And we're just happy to have you guys. Yeah. So thank you. As always, you can follow us on social media. You were about, as always, you can follow us on social media, which is Highly Melanated Podcast on Instagram, _melanated pod on Twitter. You can email us any questions, comments, and concerns. That would be, Highly Melanated Podcast, at gmail.com. And also, no, wait, that's highly, yeah, that is right. And also, you can check out our website at highlymelanatedpodcast.com.
And on that note, good evening, everybody. It is Jeeves.
Welcome.
Welcome to the Highly Melanated Manor, where we will melanate your palate and feed your soul. Of course, we want to go through, and we want to make sure.
Go ahead, fine. Just go ahead, Chiefs.
Okay. Did you want a toast? Did you have a toast or a shout out, Mr. PJ?
What's our special?
Of course, madam. Our special today, hashtag Juneteenth pro-black.
Actually, yes. Okay, I'll have a toast. I'll have some rum punch made with lambda vodka.
Amazing.
Lambda vodka?
Lambda vodka. It's everything that you dream.
It's all the rave and the gays.
I started to say that.
So because of that, my toast and shout out goes to brothers Charles and Ricky, the founders of Lambda Vodka. Last night, they had a masquerade ball, an extravaganza, and it was pretty awesome. And we had a really, really good time. If any of you guys are not aware, Lambda Vodka is actually a pretty tasty and smooth vodka, actually. But these two brothers are married, have been together for quite some time, and Ricky's mom is just beyond amazing. I just love seeing just the love and appreciation for your son, for your homosexual son. But yeah, so shout out goes to them, and yeah.
Amazing.
Dopeness.
Cool.
Anybody else for a toast? Anybody else's palate parched?
Sure. I'd like to have a bit of a tamarind juice and Crucian rum, please.
Tamarind juice. It's so exquisite.
And then you can drop a nice hefty sized stick of sugarcane in there for me.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I would actually like to make a toast to all the fathers. Happy belated Father's Day. To all the fathers that show up and take care of their own, and to all the single fathers out there that are raising their children on their own and playing both parts of mother and father. So big up to you guys that are doing hair and braiding hair and all that stuff.
Shout out.
Big up.
Can I get a drink?
Absolutely.
I'll let you decide what my drink is.
Oh, me?
Yes. Just make sure you don't put no alcohol in it.
No, I would never do that to the great Blair. I shall.
Otherwise, you can catch these hands.
Oh.
And that's what we call full circle.
I will give you. It'll be a surprise.
Oh. Okay.
It'll be a surprise. It'll have lots of umbrellas on it. One umbrella for every color in the rainbow.
Yes. That's how I like it.
He's giving you orange juice.
Rude. Well, thank you for my drink. I'm sipping it. It's delicious. And I want to give a shout out to my brother who I don't know if I shared with you guys that he recently got engaged. Did I tell you guys that?
Oh, congratulations.
Yes, you did.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
You did.
my brother recently got engaged, but another big milestone is he recently just accepted a new job in Texas. And so he and his fiance / my soon-to-be sister-in-law drove from Virginia to Texas, and they now are residents of San Antonio. So shout out to them for starting this whole new adventure in so many multiple ways.
Nice. San Antonio is nice.
Mm-hmm.
Nice shot.
I have family down there. Cool.
To shout out. I'll say this. Yesterday I was on the bus. Well, first of all, my drink. I'll have a nice mimosa. Very simple. But yesterday when I was on the bus, apparently a couple they must have gotten into an argument. I was minding my own business looking out the window, but she got to the door and she was like, back door, and everybody was like, the fuck, like, what's wrong with you? And because we weren't at the stop yet.
Oh, see.
But she was pissed.
I was going to say, that sounds familiar, like when people be screaming for them to open the back door. But the fact that you weren't at the stop yet, that's a problem.
She was like, back door. And everybody like looking at her like she was crazy.
Okay, girl.
Like, so somebody had to be all like, calm down. We're not at the stop yet. And then she like got silent. But she was still pissed off because there was clearly a guy that was with her and the guy didn't say anything the entire time. So I was like, you must have said something to her to piss her off. And, I guess somebody was like looking at her like, what's your problem? She was like, the fuck are you looking at? I was like, oh man, this is about to get violent. I was just like, let me just stand back and just watch. But she eventually got off or whatever. But shout out to the person that like told her to calm down. We're not at the stop yet.
I thought you were going to shout her out.
No, I don't know what her problem was. There's no need for all that. So shout out to the person that told her what the deal was there. Yeah, calm down.
All right. Okay. Now that we are liquefied or have been served hydrations, let's move into our appetizer. As you guys know, the melanated senses, this is what we use as our appetizer, and those are things that we see, hear, taste, touch, and smell throughout the week that are full of melanation. Does anybody have a highly melanated sense that they would like to share?
She's all proud.
It just rolled off the tongue.
It does. Press.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, shit.
Because there's 5 senses. And she says press 5 times. Just
you
let y'all know.
On it. I'm so proud of you.
Actually, I don't think I have one.
I have one.
Oh, go for it, dude.
Ooh. The melanated sense that I want to go for is actually sight. On the corner of Convent and St. Nicholas in my neighborhood of Harlem, there is a garden called Convent Garden. And it's a very beautiful garden that I always walk by because I have to go, get to the train, public transportation, what have you. I never stopped in there, because as New Yorkers, we always are on the go, right? We go, that's beautiful. And then we just keep it moving. But one day when I was actually coming off of work, I think it was a Friday, I just took the time to just say, it's a beautiful day out. There's not a cloud in the sky. I was like, let me actually stop in here and look in here. And, I went in there, and the person that was there that maintains the garden, her name is Juliet. She is affectionately known as Miami, and she takes care of the entire garden herself.
Okay.
The Convent Garden is, and anybody that knows me, I love nature. I love the outdoors, so it was just beautiful to see. But the Convent Garden is a pilot program for all of the green spaces that are in between, like those, cross streets that are weird, but they're like triangle patches in the street. So it's a pilot program, and the pilot program is supposed to set an example for all of those areas in between. And she was very passionate about like the work that she did and how many years she's been doing it for. I think 25, 30 years she's been doing it. And she's very strict. She said, this is a garden. It's not a park. So don't bring your kids to come in here, run around. Don't come in here with your picnic baskets and your wine glasses. She was just like, it's a garden. You come in here. And she was just like, you take a look at it. You say, oh, it's pretty. You can sit down. She was like, but when it's time to go and I'm ready to go upstairs, I'm locking up. So you have to leave and get out.
Yes.
So
come on, mother.
Damn. Come on, Miami.
Love that because I it brings back so many memories of like when I was a child and just doing, gardening with my parents, because my parents were just like, get out the house, help out. But it's beautiful. So I just wanted to like really note that I took the time to smell the roses.
Damn, I see what you did. Oh, wait a minute. That's sight and smell.
Is that when you also like sent me that in the you sent me to smell the roses in IG?
No, that was after.
Oh Jesus. You know what? I actually do have one. I actually do have a sense, and that's a sense of I'm currently working on a project with Bloom Jamaica. Shout out to you, Oludabe, and the rest of the crew. We're working on this performance piece, and we're creating this collective of other creatives. Be it no matter what it is that we do, let's say like I do sound mixing, somebody else does video editing, someone does, photography, somebody does anything. Whatever it is, what we're building is a collective group of people who can actually help us in general. Like, you don't know how to sound mix, I'll teach you how to sound mix while you teach me how to edit. And the idea of us all just coming together in one common good, to create something no matter what it is, and to help build each other up, is something that I've really been enjoying taking part in. Yeah, it's just beautiful. So my melanated sense goes out to community, going out to us coming together and actually doing something that is actually pretty fucking dope. So
dopeness.
Nice.
Yushi.
I actually want to take this moment to acknowledge what's happening right now in Sudan. They ousted one dictator and his successor took over, and now he is killing people, raping women, dumping bodies in the Nile to try to hide the numbers. They're just absolutely destroying the country and the people, and it began on June 3rd and it's still happening. There's an internet blackout over there, so the people of Sudan themselves can't necessarily directly share what's going on. It's been the journalists that have been sharing it. It's been the doctors that are like in the area that's been sharing it, and it's just absolutely sad. And I just want to bring attention to it. Everybody should just, go look it up, go find out for yourself what's happening. And we just really need like the UN to step in, because I know Trump is not going to care. No. We've already know his opinion on countries such as Sudan. And, the UN just really needs to step in, because right now it's just a massacre of our people in Sudan. And the people in Sudan come from, the ancient people of like the Kushite Empire. And these are our ancient ancestors who have history that go back thousands and thousands and thousands of years that predate any European civilization. And we really need to save our people, save our history. So prayers and information, and just, something needs to happen for Sudan.
Amen.
So, moving on from that heavy note, we're going to get into our meal and serve y'all a bit of Juneteenth. So on that note, Juneteenth actually came about because that's when the Black people that were being enslaved in Texas found out, because they didn't know. And that's where the whole background of Juneteenth comes from. And for this occasion, I'm going to be serving some fried catfish, some hickory smoked baked beans, macaroni salad, since y'all like macaroni salad and shit.
As long as it's not coleslaw.
A side of rum fruit salad and a side salad of choice: kale, spinach, rainbow chard, lettuce. There's your fixins. Make it for yourself. Oh yeah, we got some hot sauce over here too.
Okay, cool. Because I was like, cause I need some hot sauce.
Catfish, yep.
Yeah, we got some hot sauce
in my bag. Swag. I think maybe we can start off by talking about just like, because I think there are a lot of people that still don't know what Juneteenth is. And I think that that's kind of a holiday that you kind of find out about through friends, because there's not like, it's not like how Black History Month is like a national like thing that's recognized by, multiple like entities. Like I maybe this is just me, my opinion, but I mean, like, I feel like I found out about Juneteenth through like just random conversation. I was like, what is this? Huh? What now? And then once you know about it, you kind of become exposed to all the celebrations that are around it. Did anybody else kind of have a similar experience, or was your experience, like, did you grow up knowing about Juneteenth?
Yes, I grew up knowing about Juneteenth. And just to give a little bit more background, it's the oldest known celebration commemorating the ending of slavery in the United States. So it dates back to 1865, June 19th, when the Union soldiers led by Major General Gordon Granger landed in Galveston, Texas, with the news that the war had ended and that those enslaved were now free.
But it's so funny to me that we know about Juneteenth, and that's like a celebrated thing, but like we don't have like a publicly celebrated like event for like the Emancipation Proclamation, you know?
Mm-hmm. Like a big parade in the major cities.
Right. And that I feel like that's kind of, I mean, historically or like on the books, like that's what quote unquote is recognized as, you know, like the end of slavery, the Emancipation Proclamation, and, you know, the abolition of slavery. But those events or those, you know, periods in history don't get the same kind of recognition that Juneteenth gets. And I'm just interested, first of all, like my first question, but also to ask you guys, like, why you feel like that difference is. Like, why is there more emphasis put on Juneteenth as opposed to like the Emancipation Proclamation?
So to answer your first question, I myself wasn't really aware of Juneteenth at all up until college. And that was because I was part of an organization called OSAU, Organization for Students for African Unity, which is basically the Montclair's version of the BSU, because BSU, Black Student Union, was disbanded a few years prior. And now present day, Organization of Students for African Unity and BSU are back, but they're actually separate again, meaning now for African Unity, those are for the African students, and then for the Black Student Union, it's for the Black students. I don't know. It just changed. Modern
day segregation.
I mean, yeah. I learned a lot, especially even like through about Kwanzaa. Now, I knew a little bit more about Kwanzaa because my father was, you know, he had little bits and pieces that he would try to instill in us. So for me, the idea of Juneteenth, number one, being like one of the first, being the first American Black holidays, is pretty dope, except for the fact that we will never know, or unless you get in contact with, you know, your heritage, like our lineage, what holidays we had as Africans, right? You know what I'm saying? But I wanted to pose a question on top of your second question, because I'm sure I didn't answer that question, so I'm gonna need you to repeat that question. But before we do that, how would you feel? I was having a conversation with someone about this, about being more celebratory. Like, you know, different cities do different things. There are festivals and things like that. But if we made it a national recognized holiday for it to be like an actual day, right? Is that in your mind bringing up the past? You know how like right now they're trying to act like slavery never happened, so let's just move forward. Because it's these people who was having this conversation. So it's like celebrating the past, but not paying attention to the present. Does that make any sense?
Question for you. Do you mean like when you say a recognized holiday, do you mean like a federal holiday where everybody takes off work like the other federal holidays?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm about to say it is a holiday. It just isn't federally.
No, that's what I meant. Yeah. Federally.
Gotcha. Okay.
I don't see how it would be any different from, well, I do see how it would be different in the eyes of some people, but I mean, we have like the 4th of July, and that day is a day that is, you know, used to recognize America's independence from British control. So I don't feel like it's any different from that.
Agreed.
So why not? But I also think that, you know, like it would help in the sense of, like I said, like I grew up not really knowing about Juneteenth. You said you grew up without knowing about it. You knew. Red, did you know about Juneteenth growing up?
I did not. I found out around the same time that that Phil had said, like right around
college,
right around even going into college, I started hearing more about it. But it just, and my parents knew about it too. But they just never made it a thing. I think to kind of answer your question, I think it was a question about like, why was it not recognized, is because it, you know, it kind of follows suit of like the way that history went, right? Like we were oppressed. So they're not going to listen to us as to terms of like when something should be recognized. It wasn't until the Emancipation Proclamation, which in a way it's a little bit more formalized. Like this is what ended slavery.
Right.
So everybody uses that and everybody doesn't look at the other things, but it's kind of just as important, right?
Right.
But it was definitely like around college I started like hearing more about it.
So yeah, I think that having it be like a federally recognized holiday would at least, at the very least, bring awareness to a larger mass of people of what this day is and what it represents. But I also wonder, just like, I wish we had somebody who, you know, grew up in Texas, a Black person that grew up in Texas, you know, be able to speak on it and see, like, is that experience any different? Like, living in the actual state, you know, that's recognized for this holiday, and if their experience is any different from ours. Cause I also think, I know, like, for me, like, you know, growing up in Michigan, like, Michigan ain't nowhere near Texas, so why would we really even kind of, but I guess that doesn't really makes sense because there are other holidays that we recognize that happened in, you know, other countries that we know about. So just to summarize, I think I agree, Phil, that PJ, that I think that there would be a lot of benefit to having it be recognized as a federal holiday. And to the question of, you know, like, oh, is it like, you know, bringing up the past and like never letting like this issue die? I mean, at the end of the day, like, history is what history is. You know, these are the facts. And if you're upset that these things happened, then you can be upset about that. But that doesn't mean that we need to sweep it under the rug and not talk about it and pretend that it never happened. It happened. So you're going to have to deal with it and learn how to face it and be able to acknowledge it and move on. So
well, you know, my I like the chance to answer the question as well. My stance in reference to that would be, it's American history, and because it's American history, it should absolutely be a federal holiday. Where the major banks are closed, just like for the other federal holidays. And if we can still celebrate Memorial Day and President's Day and Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving was like basically just a mass killing. So if we didn't have those on the books, Juneteenth definitely should be a holiday, a federally recognized holiday that we should be able to acknowledge, and it should be taught in schools, in all schools, not just, you know, the all Black schools or the schools that may necessarily be in urban areas. And it's something that we definitely should know and acknowledge. A lot of times people tell us, oh, that was a long time ago. It's in the past. You should forget about that. But I never hear them say that when it comes to the Holocaust. I never hear them say, oh, Jews should just forget about that. And I never hear that being said. But for us to forget about slavery is not something that can happen, because our people went through a lot more than just being put in a concentration camp and shot, or putting in, you know, going somewhere and just dying instantly. Our generations by generation by generation by generation was treated like an animal, and they would have children. They were sold. We have so many family members that are across the country, and we don't even know who our family members are. We have tribes in Africa that we come from, and we don't even know who they are. They don't even know who we are. And because of the things that we went through here in America, which is a part of American history, because we built this country. And this is not to take away from what the Chinese did when they came and they helped to build up the railways. But Black people in America, the indigenous people of North America, have built this country. And yes, we have Black History Month, but Juneteenth to me is more important and something that should be federally recognized Black History Month is great. It's 28 days, but Juneteenth to me carries more weight, and it should be something that should be 100% acknowledged.
So let me throw you know how I like to put some extra salt on some meals sometimes, you know, to give you some high blood pressure. How would you celebrate Juneteenth, or have you?
Okay. I was going to say, so I had mentioned earlier that I knew about Juneteenth growing up. The reason why is because my father is in his 80s, and my father is a part of American history here in America. I've said in the past that, you know, he was a part of an all-black Ranger regiment that was in North Korea. And so he always made sure that we knew, or I knew personally, that number one, I was black, even though I'm fair-skinned. He knew then or not that I was black, that I knew my history in America, and that I knew where we came from so that I can know whose shoulders that we stood on. So there would be times what we would do in our household is we would play, you know, all of our oldies but goodies. We would cook a certain meal, which would include the black eyed peas, the greens, you know, the smoked turkey, or whatnot. And we would sit and just have a conversation about the history and what it means. And because of that happening, how it gave rise to all black communities like Black Wall Street, you know, how it gave rise to all black banks and all black businesses and black mayors and so forth and so on. So that's how we would do it in our household. We would just have a meal and just discuss the greatness of the blackness. When I was in school, when I was younger, shout out to Mount Vernon in Newark, New Jersey, and Ivy Hill. We actually would have an assembly show on that day where we would have the flag. We would sing, lift every voice and sing. And then we would actually reenact, Major General Gordon Granger coming to Galveston, Texas, freeing the slaves, what their reaction would be, and then how that gave birth to Black people being great in America and being able to, you know, explore and do other things outside of bondage because they couldn't do it because they would be whipped or killed for wanting to read, and, you know, so forth and so on with their inventions and all that stuff.
Okay. That's I love that idea as far as the sitting around and having community and talking and remembering and constantly thinking about. So as this is like a generational thing, so we don't forget where we've come from.
Absolutely. Keep our stories alive. Right. Yes.
For me, I celebrate it like, I'm not going to be feeling well. I'm scheduled to work on Juneteenth. I've got a cold.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh no, so sad.
It's just starting now. This will have come out after. I make it a point where, you know, again, like Juneteenth itself, for me, I really started celebrating it more so after, you know, I quit 2 years ago on Juneteenth, for my own technical freedom, because it is technically Emancipation Day, Juneteenth, and Freedom Day. I look at the day itself as a day that I take advantage of, not take advantage, but I appreciate my blackness and the blackness of all of those who are around me, in any different form, in any different way, because my blackness doesn't equal your blackness, is we're all our own version of it. You know, this is probably dating back to our first episode, or maybe our first few episodes when we were talking about this. But for me, like, I really going forward, I know I've celebrated it more because it means more to me, because it really makes me understand, as I've come into this creative life, how black I actually really am. Like, I never really understood that before. I understood that I was a black man, but I just never really understood the depths of what we've had to go through, what we are going through, and what we will continue to go through if we don't band and stick together.
Yes. And you know what? Just to piggyback off that, even though we would have these conversations in my house, I didn't understand until I became an adult, truly what I was actually being taught and what I was being told. Like, I got to be honest, like, even with the whole voting thing, I didn't understand until I became an adult that, oh my God, I need to go out and vote, because people were hosed down and locked up and beat up for just having this simple right. And I didn't really understand until I became older. So all the young folks out there, you know, you may look at this and be like, oh, that's in the past, that's this and that. But it's very important that we keep the story alive, because the first generation that forgets to keep the story alive is going to be lost to history forever. Mm-hmm. And we need to make sure that we continue, to just tell the stories and pass them down. Because like I said, I didn't realize until I got older, and I was like, oh my God, I was exposed to so much stuff, but I took it for granted.
Mm.
I think so. For me, I typically, with any holiday, so this is not just with Juneteenth, I don't celebrate it or go as hard as a lot of other people do. In the recent past, when I have either gone to Juneteenth celebrations or I'm celebrating Juneteenth just on my own, I realized that a lot of what I like to do is just have an overall positive and constructive upliftment. Excuse me. So, and that can mean anything, but I think for a lot of people, as Black people, we're so angry sometimes at what was done to us in the past that when we look at celebrations like Juneteenth or just an everyday living, and we're talking about being pro-Black, I think a lot of times we're pro-Black and then we become very inclusive and not very exclusive and not inclusive.
Very true.
And because of that, our intentions, our best intentions don't ever always come off the right way. So what is my question when there's any type of Black celebration, whether it be Juneteenth, whether it be Kwanzaa, my question is, what are we saying? What are we doing to be conscious of what we're saying and then what we're doing so that, we can be pro-Black, but that doesn't mean that we're excluding everybody else. Mm-hmm. Because what we want as Black people is that we want to uplift ourselves, but we can't do it alone.
And we shouldn't do it at the expense of others.
Right. And what does that look like? And I think that's a very tough topic because, like I said before, we're often so angry. And I've heard people say, stuff along the lines of like, we gotta support our own. But what does that look like? I'll just leave that.
I feel like people feel like it's an all or nothing kind of thing. Like the whole, like, we got to support our own. Like, oh, I only support, Black businesses and like I only, keep it here. I feel like sometimes it can be destructive because we have like this mentality of I can only do this or I can only do that. But it can be more expansive. You can do this and that. Yeah, that was just the thought that I had with that.
I gotta say, I'm so sorry, but I just want to just interrupt right at that moment because you have Jewish communities who only support Jewish communities and only put their money into what Jewish people are doing to advance their businesses. You have Asian communities that get together and have their communities, and their whole community is written in their language. And they only bank at their banks. They only put money into their people. As a matter of fact, downtown Newark and the Ironbound section of Newark, there was a time when if you were Portuguese, the bank would give you money to buy a house down there. If you were not Portuguese, they were not giving you any money and they wanted you to go somewhere else. So there are a lot of communities that are already being inclusive of themselves. Like the Chinese themselves have a 1,000-year plan that includes them building up each other. And a lot of times within the Black community, you really only hear the Muslims speaking about us doing the same thing. And remember, we had these communities already in the past. Black Wall Street in Oklahoma was one of the first places in America to be bombed by their own people, because they had that. And it was better for our communities because we had children looking up and seeing Black mayors, seeing Black people run businesses, seeing Black people have all this stuff and saying to themselves, you know what, I can grow up and do the same thing. So we already have other races of people that are already very inclusive within themselves. PJ, correct me if I'm wrong. You have a lot of West Indians that will only really support West Indian businesses.
Correct.
And that's something, and that's within our own community as Black people, because West Indians are Black. So I say that to say that you already have communities that are non-Black already doing this. For example, you have the Holi celebration, you have the Diwali celebration that are amongst Indians, and they are not ashamed to bring out their Indian flag, talk their Indian language, eat their Indian food. It doesn't mean that other people aren't invited, but it's for them and by them.
I mean, I think, I think we're getting slowly off the track, but to add to your point, and because I wanted to actually counter your point, right about that, because the monies in our communities don't roll over. I think it's, I don't know the exact number.
Yeah, right. It's minutes.
Yeah, it's minutes, where it stays within our community, while in every other community it stays for years and, decades or whatever have you. So Juneteenth for me, is a day, not just the only day, but it's definitely a day that I take the time to make sure that I'm doing everything I can to support Black businesses, to support Black small businesses, internet businesses, companies, friends that I know that are doing something, promoting other people's stuff, just so I can really keep track of everything that we're doing and understand that we're important.
So,
that's the same like the Irish do for St. Patrick's Day.
I mean, go ahead, Chris.
Well, just
Go ahead.
to clarify my point a little more, I guess what I mean to say is I can do without the, I only support Black businesses because I hate white people kind of pro-Blackness.
Right.
That's essentially what I'm trying to say. Like, I think it's very important for us to support, Black businesses and Black enterprises. I think that's extremely important. But when the root for that support comes from a place of hate or comes from a place of discrimination, like, that's what I take issue with. And so now to your point, Red.
No. I mean, and I agree with you. And I think we can do it to a fault, because otherwise you put yourself into this bubble where you can't do anything else but that. And I don't think that you can grow like that, because the community that's assigned to you might have information that you need to make your business better. And I think a lot of times that we don't do that. This is going back a while ago, but I was just, one of the things that I like to do, I think I mentioned this before, is that like when we come up with a topic, I like to just, instead of like doing research, I do more so opinions of people and gather my information that way, because how people perceive things is sometimes is more of reality than not,
than
right?
What's written, yeah.
It could be factual, but if a person doesn't perceive it as that, then it doesn't matter. But I asked my dad, what does pro-Black mean to him? And then this is what he wrote. It's a little bit lengthy, but I'm just going to read it really quickly. Pro-Black. For some people, when they hear the term pro-Black, they think Black only. And then you have people who are non-Black and think of the term in a more ominous manner. When in actuality, the simplest terms of pro-Black has many different meanings, such as include me. I matter too. Some people will only shop exclusively at Black-owned establishments to help support the community. Someone will only see entertainment by Black-only entertainers. In my opinion, I would say pro-Black would mean to educate those who are non-Black to experience a culture that for years that many people have been taught to fear and to shy away from at all costs. I don't believe people should live in a bubble such as staying in one neighborhood. Only shopping in one neighborhood and never experiencing anything outside of that. It can be uncomfortable for many people to step outside that zone, but for many people, if you limit your horizons, you limit your potential for learning and growing.
That is dope.
No, and I mean, and I think it's really dope to look at that, look at being pro-Black that way. Like I said before, we should be always supporting our businesses, our people. I just want to, like you had mentioned before, get rid of that very bitter ending. Like, I'm not going to support white people. I'm not going to do that. Because it only comes back to bite us in the behind. And unfortunately, we're not in a very good position to be all like, all right, well, whatever. Like, we're not in the best of positions to do that. So why perpetuate that?
Agreed.
Interesting. I mean, I just feel that us as Black people, because we've created most of the stuff that's being used here in America, there's like a limitless amount of things that we're into that we know, and to just explore that side of it is like so boundless that I don't know. I just feel like it would be great if we can have 1,000-year plan, and, we can support ourselves, and, and if Jaquan down the street wants to open up, a barbershop and doesn't have the money, it would be great if the community came together and said, you know what, we going to help you open this barbershop because the barbershop is going to be here to give jobs, and it's going to keep the money for us. And we're going to invest in this Black bank in Newark, and keep the money and do it like that. I mean, I think that that's a beautiful thing, because there's a lot of other communities that are doing that, and they're making major strides.
I think part of the reason why our community has such an issue with doing that is because some of us have problems with sharing success.
True.
And that puts us behind. Like, you look at like these other communities or these other races, like you mentioned, like Chinese or the Jewish community. I see this mentality of sharing successes with each other. And if you win, I win. And I know that we say that a lot of the time, but do we truly actually like for real embody it in every aspect of our lives? I think that maybe at some point we're all guilty of this, but I think that obviously that's another conversation for another day, but I think that is part of why we collectively can't get it together to structure out a plan that has long-term success.
But that comes from our positioning and where we're at in our communities, right?
Exactly.
Unfortunately, we still have a lot of bread and butter issues. We still have a lot of issues that are in the way, get in the way of our executive function. So like for me to kind of turn around, if I'm not in a good spot and I turn around and say, hey, I want to share my success with PJ, I put myself at risk.
Exactly.
To do stuff.
That's the issue, is sometimes we have a problem with being able to support others because we're barely supporting ourselves.
Right. And if you notice, it's harder for us to kind of like speak on certain things because, unfortunately, in an ideal world, it would be nice for everybody to like be able to intermingle with different circles of people and be able to know how to apply, I guess, their help or their tactics to different circles. But the reality of it is the circle that we're in is not the circle that the next person is in. So when you turn around and you try and explain to them like, oh man, I helped out PJ the other day and like, he's cool and like he did this and he did that. And Blair, some people can't even understand that.
Yeah.
I mean, so this also goes back to my melanated sense about the group that we're creating this collective of creatives. I know something, you don't know something. You know something, I don't know something. Let's share what we know.
Yep.
Let's learn with each other. Yeah, it's going to take some time. It's going to be frustrating, but at the end of the day, you will have gained a skill that you didn't have before, and I have gained a skill, and this is how it.
That's how it starts.
That's exactly how it starts, and that's how it should be going across the board. So, like, no matter what, and I think that we, as you said, Blair, there are so many of us, and you said this as well, Chris. Chris, I'm gonna keep it Chris.
There you have it, folks. My name has been changed.
We have so much issue when it comes down to letting go of this narrative of we can't support somebody else until we're supporting ourselves, because we're putting ourselves at risk.
But this even goes to even another conversation that we had prior to us coming into the studio, right? People, they don't want to trust people because they feel like they're going to get hurt. So, all
and
right.
and just to interject right there, like, there's validation for the reason why we feel that way.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
No. I'm just saying, I'm just putting it out there just to say.
But
I mean, sometimes.
But all right, sometimes it's in our head. A lot of times it's in our head. But sometimes it is validated for us to not want to feel like trusting people. But the way that what I told PJ before we came into the studio earlier today is that if somebody's out to get you, It's going to happen regardless, whether you trust the person or not. Because there's people that you trust and they backstab you. There's people that you don't trust and they backstab you. So why not go in with a more positive attitude anyway, and just and have the possibility of meeting somebody that is phenomenal. Mic drop. I'll be here all night, guys.
You know what? That, to me, that also speaks on the fact that a lot of us are suffering from cultural mental illness that goes back generations. Right. So it's not something that just...
And that's what I mean by the validation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, goodness gracious. All right, let's get some dessert.
Do you guys trust me?
I do trust you.
I'm not. I won't backstab you. I'll front stab you.
As soon as y'all said that, literally in my head, the OJs, they smiling in your face all the time. They want to take your place. The backstabbers.
We're shoulder popping over here. Go ahead.
Immediately in my head, the OJs popped in. Okay, so for dessert, what is an appropriate Juneteenth dessert? Oh, goodness. We got catfish and macaroni salad and whatnot. What goes? I feel like I want to say cobbler. I want cobbler. Cobbler. Yeah, so y'all tell me what type of cobbler you want. And the tongue pop is necessary.
It is necessary.
And along with your final thought.
I'll go first. I think that we should trust more. I really do. I think that's where some of it begins, because, like I said before, if somebody's out to get you, they're gonna do whatever it takes to get you anyway. Why limit yourself? You know, if you're encountering somebody that over time becomes shady, or they're just not reliable and stuff like that, then guess what? You're an adult. Cut them off. Done. On to the next person. But we get into this mentality of, no new friends. And if you're, especially in I think it goes across the board, but especially if you're in careers like entertainment and, music and, all of these different things, I think that it becomes so poignant that you can't bubble yourself in and just expect somebody that you think you can trust just to walk into your life.
You can't be Garnet.
You can't know. You
can't be bubbling.
You can't know. No, you can't do that. I don't have that bubbling power.
Go ahead.
But trust more. Trust more. Don't become jaded. If they're not for you, then they're not for you. On to the next person. And I think I didn't choose peach. I didn't choose a cobbler.
But it would be peach?
No, it would be every single one that's there.
Remix.
You give me a slice of everything.
Sink.
A little bit of all of it.
A rainbow cobbler.
There you go.
His inner fat girl.
So my final thought is, actually, I don't like cobblers, so I'm not choosing any of them. I'm just going to go with some old-fashioned sweet potato pie. I will have the whole pie. But I just wanted to drop some books. For those out there that like to read as much as I do, check out The Underground by Colson Whitehead. You have The Nickel Boys by him as well, Colson Whitehead. You have Barracoon, Zora Neale Hurston, Kindred, Octavia Butler. My folks don't want me to talk about slavery. That is actually inserts that is in the Library of Congress that people who actually were born slaves give their direct stories. So yeah, go check out some Black books. Call Your Daughter Home, Deb Sperta. Go pick up a book, go read. If you don't read, get an audio version. What the hell is that noise?
That's him dropping the books.
I'm giving the book drop.
That's him dropping the books. That's the book drop.
What is going on?
Yeah, you should see the face. That
every single time you said a book, I dropped the book. The Law and Order book drop.
Dun, dun.
Oh, Lord. But yes, go check out some books, people. Go check out some books. And also a big shout out to Tidal for, doing what they do and having that Black business.
I'm not typically, I know I chose the topic, but or the dessert, but I'm not a big cobbler person either, but I would like to try a lemon cobbler. I think that might be delicious. So I'm going to trepidatiously try that.
With slices of lemon?
It's like I looked it up. It's like a lemon pudding kind of cobbler.
It's actually good. No, it's good. With some iced tea, it's good.
Like a lemon flavored like pudding kind of cobbler.
All right, what's your final thought? 'Cause I just can't.
You like creamy
You
stuff
stay
anywhere.
over there then, okay? You stay over there.
Oh, fine.
And then my final thought is, again, Yusha gave the date earlier, but Juneteenth is June 19th, 1865, which is 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was declared. So that just kind of gives people reference for, just kind of know, like, how much longer Black people were enslaved after we were, quote unquote, officially, freed. And my final thought is to just kind of just say, like, growing up, like, I didn't really know about Juneteenth. It wasn't like a thing that we celebrated in our household. And so I didn't really know anything about it until probably college, just like you guys said. And after becoming aware of this holiday and, you know, becoming aware of another way that we can celebrate Black people and our history, it was just such a awakening kind of moment. So I would encourage everybody who doesn't know about Juneteenth to do your research and to celebrate it in your own way, whether it's like Yushi said, that you're, you know, sitting around with your family and friends and, you know, having discussions about, you know, Black people, where we have been and where we can go, or if it's a moment to think about what pro-Black means to you and how you want to embody that. Just take the time to actually kind of sit with that and think about it and find your own way to kind of celebrate the day and have it become a part of you. And maybe one day it'll become a federal holiday. Who knows? We'll see what happens. Not under this administration, most likely, but, you know, all things through God are possible.
My final thought really quick is everybody should take the time to look at Juneteenth as a day to, as Yushi was saying, think about having these conversations with your friends as far as how far we've come. Use this time also to make sure that your presence is known within your community. That's the only thing I'm going to add there.
Amazing.
So guys, thank you for taking the time to listen to another episode of Highly Melanated. As always, you can follow us on all platforms of social media. You can actually just search Highly Melanated Podcast and you'll be able to find all the information because it'll lead you directly to our website, highlymelanatedpodcast.com. But that will still be Instagram, Highly Melanated Podcast, Twitter, H_melanated_pod. And as always, you can follow us wherever all podcasts are found. Shout out to everybody who's I've been approaching lately and have been passing out cards, and a couple of people have just been saying, a friend of mine told me about this show, you know, and like, listen, you know, it is, we have growth with purpose. So on that note, peace,
love,
and
Black greatness.
you better emphasize.
yeah.
You got it.
Press.
You know what?
throw down your mic.
Yo, press.
I'm sorry, but I was on the phone when you said it.
I said I'm sorry. Please, I've had
It's above me now.
I said I'm sorry.
It's above me now.
Please, I've been in
I was on the phone when you said it.
You won't let me in.
I was on the phone when you said it.
Please, I've been
It's above me now. Above me now. Above me now. Above me now. It's above me now. Above me now. Above me now. Above me now. I was on the phone when you said it. I was on the phone when you said it. I was on the phone when you said it. I was on the phone when you said it. It's above me now. Above me now. Above me now. Above me now. It's above me now. Above me now. Above me now. Above me now. I was on the phone when you said it. I was on the phone when you said it. I was on the phone when you said it. I was There's the best restaurant next door. Best restaurant.